with an established record of exceptional service and leadership on campus. This integration of intellectual excellence and a dedication to service and leadership is really at the heart of what we aspire to at Boston College as a Jesuit school. As many in the room know, the students and my fellow deans and faculty colleagues, I often quote Father Peter Hans Kolbenbach, who was the Superior General of the Society of Jesus in the 80s and 90s up to about early 2000s. He gave a speech at Santa Clara University in the year 2000 about the integration of faith and justice in American Jesuit higher education. And in that speech he said this: "The measure of our schools is who our students become. The success or failure of Boston College as a Jesuit school lies in who the students become." And Father Kolbenbach didn't mean what sort of job they get. That's important. We want our students to get excellent work, doing excellent things in the world, but what's most important is what kind of character they have, what kind of person they are. Father Kolbenbach said that he hoped that graduates of Jesuit universities became well-educated, whole people of solidarity, ready to take responsibility in the real world. Well-educated, whole people of solidarity, ready to take responsibility in the real world. His successor, Father Adolfo Nicolas, added that we wanted our graduates to be people of depth of thought and creative imagination. And in recent years here at Boston College, as we've thought about the vision that animates our core curriculum, we've talked about wanting to make sure that our students are well prepared for meaningful lives in service of the common good. This integration of intellectual excellence and character formation oriented towards service of the common good is really at the heart of things. In many ways, I think the name of this order, the Order of the Cross and Crown, really speaks to that. When I first became dean and was charged with responsibility of presiding over this induction ceremony, I tried to figure out, where does this name come from? And I don't know that I found anything in the historical record that tells us why we have something called the Order of the Cross and Crown. But it's interesting, if you look sort of around the top of the wall in this room, maybe in the back I can see it, I'm not sure if it's in front of me, I'm sure it is. You can see a cross and a crown embedded in the wall. There's something about this imagery that is key. And I think it really does speak to the kind of integration that we're looking for from a Boston College education. It's reflected in the seal of the university as well, where there are two crowns and a cross as part of the seal of the Society of Jesus, which is in the seal of Boston College. I think it's meant to help people think about the cross. Jesuits aspire to labor with Jesus under the standard of the cross, faithful to a mission of loving self-gift. We hope that we share in the mission of Jesus to bring freedom and wholeness and fullness of life to the world. And the crowns, which evidently come from the city shield of Boston in England, kind of, I think, represent the civic nature of Jesuit education and Jesuit spirituality, oriented toward the service of the city. There's always been a sense that what we're trying to do in Jesuit education is to educate leaders who will promote the greater good of the larger society. So to integrate intellectual excellence and character formation in this civic spirituality. We want an education that reflects the Jesuit mission of serving faith and promoting justice. We want an education that helps students to put their lives at the service of the common good, trying to create communities in which everybody can flourish as a whole human person. And I think the name, the Order of the Cross and Crown, should help our new inductees and all of us to reflect on an enduring human question. How is God calling us to put our lives at the service of the common good? That's an enduring human question. From the inductees today, we have a select group of students who are designated as marshals, led by a chief marshal. Students who exemplify in a particularly profound way this integration of excellence that we're looking for. One thing I did find in doing some research when I began presiding at this induction ceremony was that in the early days, the Order of the Cross and Crown didn't have marshals, it had knights led by a knight commander. We can all be thankful that that terminology has fallen by the wayside and we now have marshals led by a chief marshal. But it's interesting to think about where that language may have come from. If you know the story of the life of St. Ignatius, the founder of the Jesuits, he initially understood himself as a knight in the service of the king. But later, through his own conversion, he understood himself as a pilgrim at the service of God. And I think that kind of imagery of being a knight in service of the king, becoming a pilgrim in service of the Lord, is really central to the kind of excellence that we're looking for in our graduates. This year's Chief Marshal of the Order of the Cross and Crown is Darnel Phils. Darnel is an economics major with a minor in African and African diaspora studies. He's done a tremendous range of things while he's been at Boston College. He's serving as a resident assistant in Vanderslice. He's a student ambassador for the Theoboman Ahana and Intercultural Center. He's been involved in the Ahana Male Leadership Program and the First Gen Advisory Board, participates in the College Board Mentorship Program. He's a member of the Dedicated Intellectuals of the People. He's been a volunteer in the Jamaica Service Immersion Trip. All of these things exemplify what we hope for in our students. As someone who played the baritone horn in the pep band back in my undergraduate days, I'm also happy that Darnel is a dedicated brass player. It's our custom to have the Chief Marshal address the inductees, so I'll now invite Darnel to approach the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Darnel Phils, and it is my honor and privilege to speak to you all today. First, I would like to congratulate all of us on our induction into the Order of the Cross and Crown. I would also like to thank the Cross and Crown Committee for their efforts to host this event. It is one thing to excel academically at Boston College. It is another to stay involved on and off campus at the same time. I was speaking to a good friend of mine last Friday. And one thing we reflected on was where we were 4 years ago and how far we have come today. It is crazy to think about where I was 4 years ago. Like many of you, I was debating which major I should switch into, wanting to catch a Newton bus to make it to class, and trying to find my place at BC. However, one thing that gave me stability was finding ways to do service on campus. I am thankful that Boston College has provided me with many opportunities to do so, whether that was mentoring high school students on the weekend through the College Bound Mentorship Program, being a student leader for the Ahana Male Leadership Program, or even being a resident assistant for residents on Newton campus, the multicultural learning experience for on Upper Campus, and now for residents in Vanderslice Hall. When I was working on the draft for a speech, I started to think, why do I do acts of service in the first place? It brought me back to when I was a second-year student at BC, and I went on the Jamaica Management Service Immersion Trip over winter break. If you know me, you know how highly I speak about Jamaica matches. And one thing I always tell people is that in Jamaica, I got the opportunity to experience the most love in my life. I say that because I truly understood what service was all about when I left the country. But what does that love look like? 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says, "If I speak with the tongues of angels, but do not have love, I am just an annoying distraction. If I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all my possessions to the poor and sacrifice my body, but do not have love, then I gain nothing." Essentially, acts of service without love have no power or no substance. I believe service is the best form of love. But you see, I'm not talking about any type of love here. This is not pragma, Cupid, or sexual love. I'm talking about agape love. A love that is unconditional and unwavering. This type of love is patient and kind. It does not envy, nor does not boast. It is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, and is not easily angered. And it keeps no wrongs, no accounts of wrongs. I also believe service is the act of doing more. Magis is the term. It is defined as to do more and to do greater things. When we choose to enact the meaning of magis in our lives, we choose to do more for others. Each of us here has that Jesuit value. When we as students on campus fight for social justice, political justice, environmental justice, economic justice, and educational justice, we do it with the urge to do more. That is love. In this world, during this time, it is needed now more than ever. To make progress at this university, we must continue to show our love through the actions we commit. And I hope for us to continue to spread that love to each other within our community and outside to the rest of the world. Thank you.
It's now my privilege to induct Darnel as Chief Marshal of the